I mean, to be honest with you, I just expect the unexpected at this point. My heart would have said, my gut would have said Luminosity, but I've been so wrong today, Uber, that I just kind of went the other way. I feel like Luminosity deserved at least one representative from the test out of us. I'm sure the audience will give them a lot of love, but I feel like these are two teams who have really shown up today, very motivated, playing the best Brawl Stars I think we've seen from them all year long, and now they're competing for one more match. I don't expect either of these teams to hold back. I don't know if there really is a discernible call. I'll go 51% 49. I mean, again, just feels neck and neck here. That's what makes this North America region so special.
It has been incredible over the whole year, and today I think it's really delivered on a level that we weren't expecting. We're used to there being some one-sided games here and there, but in the last few, we've seen none of that energy. Speaking of energy, Kenny's going to step aside and recoup his, while myself and Reddy said, dive in to our first map. It's going to be Hot Potato, making its return to the competitive map pool here. Heist will kick us off, and the fans at home at event.brawlstars.com are on the Lumosity Gaming side of things.
Well, they made a good run today, so you can't really blame the fans at home. Though I also predicted Elevate to win. Actually, across the board, we all anticipated an Elevate win in this match right here. So, given all of this context, given that we're on Hot Potato here, it's a very welcome addition back to the map pool, but still has some of the similar Hot Potato heist paradigms that we're familiar with already. We see some very breakable walls. We see a mid that is conducive to some of these tanks. Side lanes that are, you could say, polluted by these indestructible walls that permit the passage of throwers as well as tanks down those lanes.
Yeah, those are an important feature, and it's why we've seen throwers in the past. That's why we're going to see a thrower here. Berry snuck through the ban phase and will instantly be snapped up by Elevate.
I will draw a parallel to what we saw in Luminosity versus Tribe, where that berry was left open, Tribe took it instantly, and then it was countered all the way to spawn by that Cordelius. And note that Luminosity have that final selection here. Cordelius is not banned. I could see this potentially as a last pick for Luminosity to punish that early berry selection.
Buzz on this map has definitely been quite strong. Now with that hypercharge can cover a lot of ground pretty darn quickly, and also, you know, diving on the safe does a ton of damage. 62% win rate for the Buzz in general. Nice hard engage, sort of tanky bruiser option here. And again, Rico getting snapped up here straight away, who's incredibly, I mean, he's terrifying on those side lanes and very, very good if he gets in a position just to pepper the safe down. Frank here comes in. We might be seeing a similar comp here to what we saw in that previous series where Berry was paired with two tanks.
Yeah, and it can absolutely get him up the map here. We'll see Amber selection from Elevate to prevent themselves from getting run down. Note that Crow's also been banned. Crow's super effective into Amber. Also, when it comes to that Frank selection, keep in mind that some of the greatest things into him have been banned. We see Colette no longer available. Gale was really the only actually good thing into Frank that was remaining. So I think that Elevate absolutely knew that this was coming from Luminosity. But note that Dynamite isn't here. In fact, the three best throwers on this map have been banned by Elevate. And finally, that Nita ban from Luminosity. So I do expect Frank to be pretty good here, at least as long as these walls are up. I would expect the same for Chino on this Rico. He's taking the right side, which is completely uncontested. We'll get some free safe damage as a result.
Yeah, straight away, Zeus can make use of these walls to really close the gap. Chino out in the open against Luffy, not really where you want to be. Tries for the multi-ball launcher, but doesn't find anything there. Now RBM is going to be brought down eventually here. Zeus heals up within those ice cream fields, and Luffy can take a couple pot shots here. So some damage traded early, but Elevate definitely have that slim lead because the berry will be annoying to clear out of that part of the map, and Zeus even gets a trade there on Patchy.
RBM approaches from the right. Some damage in from Charles and Chino so far. Charles would like to be on RBM, looks for the stun against the wall, but RBM is ready with the gadget to prevent any of that stunning from happening. Patchy in on the left side, completely taken down by Luffy and Zeus. Now Chino has this hypercharge that he can use to defend. He'll opt to use a gadget to keep Zeus back. But Rico just generally does not have good matchups into throwers. He'll try to get this hypercharge super down, ends up finishing off with a normal attack. On the right side, RBM once again resists the effects of the stun and approaches menacingly with Luffy for the additional damage and the game win.
Yeah, it's a scary comp that Elevate have here. The fact that Berry can do so much on this map because he is the only thrower here. So the walls benefit the Berry, and frankly, Luminosity needs to try and find a way around them or over them or past them to threaten that solo thrower that Elevate brought into the game. And then as soon as you forget about Frank, he comes in with a stun and then is able to win the fight out and start to pressure that safe. I mean, Gino, you can see how powerful multi-ball launcher is because it gets funneled down those side lanes, but we need to see more maybe from the buzz here. Patchy goes 1-for-1 to open.
Okay, excellent super there from Chino to open up the left side. We'll see Charles still occupying mid so that he can keep this Frank back. But Luffy is operating in the range matchup quite successfully. Now Charles needs to rotate over the right side to deal with RBM. He's going to set Patchy on that Amber over here. Now, does she get the damage with the gadget? Looks like it was a little too preemptive, and the damage misses. Huge laser from Chino and the finishing play from Charles, but they still cannot get this aggression. It's only Patchy that's gotten safe damage so far.
Yeah, defensively, Lumosity looking a lot better here. Super used there by Charles to force RBM away. Multiple launcher, and that super. And balls for days here for Chino, and eventually RBM has to succumb. Nice little dive there for Patchy, able to find the super stun, and now we're onto the safe here. Again, that multiple launcher also pop for extra DPS. A lot of damage being done to Elevate, who are struggling under this level of onslaught.
On Lumosity's side, we see Zeus use a gadget, pop down some damage on the safe. That's going to sit there for a while. Hypercharge, super in from RBM. Locks in the kill, now making use of that healing to move up and also charge Zeus's super. But he is fended off by Chino and Charles on the left side. Now Patchy in with the Hypercharge, going all the way to the enemy side onto Luffy. Damage, no contact. Patchy for the final damage in. RBM pushed back. It's wide open, and Lumosity take game 2.
Yeah, that one looked very, very good. This time from Lumosity, I think the Gale super really important there, and very, very hard for that Frank to come up and get damage. You saw him stunned up pretty badly. There is so much crowd control on this roster for Lumosity that Amber, honestly, there was more thrown at her than was needed. I think there was a stun from the Gale super, and then the Buzz jumped in, also stunned the Amber, and they got blown up. Even that Frank Hypercharge wasn't enough to turn the tide of the fight.
Chino once again on Frank duty. We'll see Charles also defend against Luffy at mid, while Patchy is allowed to go onto the safe solo. Do they win this base race? This is now a test of game knowledge. Well, RBM has crazy damage unload. Luffy rains down upon the safe too, and Zeus follows in suit. Elevate are taking some serious damage, but they're also doling it out on their own. Patchy finishes off on the enemy safe, dealing 52% total. And that draws a parallel to Lumosity taking over 75% on theirs as well. They remain in the lead for the time being.
They're not great for Lumosity. They definitely lose out in the base race, 1 versus 3, as they lose a fight defensively. Luffy wants to push up here a little bit, but the Rico is definitely a nuisance. This is definitely a salvageable deficit for Lumosity. And one by one, they're able to bring these Elevate brawlers down. RBM getting dove on there by Patchy. The damage follow-up is not there, not enough anyway. They get buried at the very least, but off the rip, Luffy comes out of spawn and slams Chino. So again, Lumosity have the power play. Hypercharge there from RBM, and now he's low enough to really start doling that damage out onto the safe. It's going to be Elevate taking away our first set here. Very competitive set in general. But that dive with the buzz onto the Frank blew up in Lumosity's face.
Move, Elevate, lock themselves for Worlds, and Lumosity find out that they will not be going to the World Finals no matter what they do. That's hugely motivating for Elevate and seriously, severely demotivating for Lumosity. And that is your pre-game headspace. How difficult is that to dig yourself out of?
Yeah, maybe somewhat difficult, right? I think a strong result here in the first set might have helped, but perhaps that was a wake-up call for them. Shake themselves out of the stupor that they were experiencing coming into this game, now realizing the stakes have changed quite drastically, and get geared up here to clean things up against Elevate. Pinball Dreams is going to be our next set here. Notice the Barley's been taken away by both sides. Neither team wants to deal with that throw. He's a nuisance on this map, but Gale continues to be hotly contested.
100% presence of this guy, or at least it seems like it. Whether it's in the bans or the picks, he's just everywhere. And he's most certainly welcome here on Pinball Dreams, considering the ability to stun and how capable he is in enemy tanks. Nita will fill a similar role. She has a stun if she needs. She can push people back. The only thing that she's really weak against is throwers, so it's a good thing that Barley was banned out here. Same with Larry for Lumosity, but Willow has been known to sneak through on Pinball Dreams from time to time. Crow also, nice way of slowing things down. That Hypercharge is quite valuable, but something I see missing so far is, without a doubt, the Rico. Rico's so good here, especially if you push an enemy into their own spawn. It's basically game over.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to what we saw in the previous map, right? What Rico can do with just the way the map is laid out, with that multi-ball launcher being able to really just cover huge parts of the map. See that locked away now, and Elevate have their last pick here to consider. Got the Gale already. It's going to be pretty important against that Nita. And wow, somehow the Frank gets picked up.
I'm absolutely shocked. You're telling me that the team with Gale just picked Frank?
Yeah.
And they also have another anti-tank on their team?
Yeah.
This is crazy. I wonder if we'll see a Colette from Lumosity or something. Something that's good into the Frank. We could even see a Cordelius. It wouldn't really be unheard of. But the struggle is going to be, let's also get something that's not countered by that Gale, since Gale's so effective into so many different things. I think, if anything, there's a Colette. Man.
You want a cookie? A pat on the back, maybe? They picked Frank, brother!
I'll take anything I can get.
Oh, please. They're going to be, I mean, at this point, mate, I expect this from you. Locked in here now for Lumosity is their composition. It will be Crow, Colette, and Anita. So you have the slow potential here from the Crow, plus that all-in that can really make a difference, especially for Rico, is being a little bit tough to catch on the other side of some of these walls. Again, good disengage options here from the Gale. Again, Lumosity need to try and make their way up into this series. After a decent showing, I think, on that first map, it was totally fine. Me and Elevate just seem running hot today.
With this Colette selection, we'll pivot over to the right side. I really think it does need to be placed on that Frank. There's no wall break here, so she could struggle a little bit with the super. It's difficult to aim in close quarters. But also, it's not really that good of the Gale, since Gale can just push you away. Chino has this super. One of the more important things for Chino is going to be to cycle that hypercharge. The gadget is so useful for pushing in here. Holy angle there from Luffy. He got a bit of damage on the Chino while being completely defended. Now, look at Luffy over here, the way that he plays the Rico. This is something I had the chance to discuss with players. This man will get Robo Retreat, he gets the speed, and he sits on it for the entire game, and it's happening right now.
Yep, he is straight chilling. Hanging back there. I don't know if you noticed the gadget used there by Patchy to stun RBM. To straight up just win the 1v1. But even with the Frank off the map, it wasn't enough for Lumosity to be guaranteed the ability to come forward and threaten a goal. So RBM just gets to respawn. And you'll note here, there are no indestructible boxes on this part of the map. And the only wall break is on the side of Lumosity. RBM will definitely hope to abuse that once Elevate can take a more aggressive footing. Move up with the ball.
Back to the Colette on the right lane. Still farming this hypercharge. The hypercharge is going to be a massive game changer. There's the use. Wow, holy defense from Luffy. Zeus, RBM on the left side, though, taken down by Patchy. So it's still a stalemate. Now, Patchy has this bear to use once more to keep things back. Zeus and Luffy are still trying to push up the mid and the right side respectively, but there's not much they can do. It almost looks like this one will go to overtime. Take down on Apache, it looked like RBM. Now taken down by the poison. It's 2v none. An open goal, but they cannot make this one in.
Yeah, and I think Chino and Charles realize that Luffy's going to come off the respawn awfully fast. And again, pushing into an enemy Rico right in front of their goals, you can get blown up awfully quickly, especially now Luffy has that hypercharge available. So it looks like Lumosity are happy to wait this one out, go all the way to that overtime, which, yeah, ostensibly seems to suit them fairly well. There'll be no walls here for Rico to work with. Frank will be very exposed as well, and Gale is somewhat short range.
Patchy still hanging on to this super versus Zeus. Zeus is probably gonna, there we go. But he didn't get the stun onto Patchy. It looked like he might have been able to. Nonetheless, Zeus is still occupying this position. RBM is equipped with his hypercharge and his super, and the same goes for Luffy, though superless for now. Chino looking for the big play on RBM now. Moving in onto Luffy. Big damage, but no takedown. Stun on Chino on the right side. Patchy and Charles completely kept back.
Well, folks, I heard you like hypercharges, so we put 6 of them in the map for you. How about that one? Elevate, win that fight out in the end. Raw weight of stats, and eventually clean Lumosity up. My goodness, what a climax to what was a pretty glacial round prior to that.
Yeah, this is reminding me of a different game where ultimate abilities are popped all the way at the end.
No. I don't know what you're talking about, honestly. Only Brawl Stars where that happens. I would know.
This is so true.
Okay, so again, I mean, you know, I think Chino was really hoping to make a play on RBM, like you said. With the Frank being out in the open, the Colette obviously doing that % health damage, that was a big opportunity, but here it is, Elevate getting aggressive footing off the bat, and RBM's able to break the map wide open. Again, this doesn't necessarily help Elevate that much, because it does mean that it's an easier shot now for Chino to harass this Frank down.
I feel like it's almost all the way bad for Lumosity here. If anything, Luffy doesn't get as much value when things get backed up to Lumosity's side, but we saw their ability to hold in the last game. Here comes RBM, though.
Oh, Lord, he coming.
Charge and super. He's going all the way to spawn to open it up. No one can even get close to him. Yeah, why not waddle around a little bit? Give Zeus the chance to charge up his super and hypercharge for the next pitch. because that's where we're headed now. Elevate lead with 1 goal.
Yeah, and again, the map's just really been opened up on Lumosity's side of the map. There's no way to make it look like a positive thing for the blue side. Definitely not a position they want to be in. As soon as they start losing map control, you can basically shoot from 20 paces out. Zeus getting pressured, pinched here by Charles and Chino. The latter with a hypercharge available. Zeus not able to connect though with Chino and to land that stun. And here comes the dive. Rico pops instantly. Zeus takes a hit, but should be able to shrug this one off. RBM though can't say the same for them as Bruce makes a hard landing and Patchy slots it in.
Whoa, he could have walked that one in, but he went for the right side. That was a bit of a close call, but that's just the game sense that these players have to offer. Didn't want to feed any Hypercharge or Super to Luffy either. They didn't have that much to worry about since Luffy is already out of those multi-ball launchers, something that would be indispensable on defense. But Zeus is going to start off this push in from the right side, pushing people literally to the left side, pops the Hypercharge on the right side, the takedown of Charles, an open goal and a set win for Elevate.
Elevate after a very hard-fought first round. Let's move on. Flaring Phoenix will be our third map here. It is going to be Knockout. Again, awkward sight lines at times to try and play those sharpshooters, so we've seen plenty of throwers make their way onto this particular map. And remember, if Elevate win this and take the series, they'll walk out of the BSC and NA as a #1 team.
Actually quite a bit on the line here for Elevate. And for Luminosity, they can also play for seeding here and some cash money. I think that this has bigger implications for Elevate, though. I mean, you can be poised for a good seeding at the World Finals by making it through LCQ quite dominantly. So that's still possible to achieve for Luminosity. For Elevate, they are playing for that World's seeding right now. We'll start off here on Flaring Phoenix with a first selection for Luminosity. Note the throwers that have been banned out on both sides. Gene, this is Mr. Stianuv from Luminosity, the first selection.
All right, that's locked in here. Going to be pretty important on those knockout maps. Again, we talked about the hypercharge for Gene, which is a little controversial because it fires 3 magic hands instead of 1, but can put you in these awkward positions where you end up hooking multiple players, which can end up blowing up in your face, as you can kind of imagine. You've created like a 1v2 situation. Not always ideal. And here we go again. Elevate really love the RT here. It's just far too broadly good, I think, to ignore. And again, on maps like this, we've seen them go for the Pearl in the past, but a closer range option here comes up in Shelly, which is a bit of a Luminosity classic. We've seen this from them a few times.
Final selection, Sprout, coming in from Luminosity. Always good to have a thrower on your side. Can use that to break some bushes. And bushes abound if you decide that you want to, have a salad and quickly heal yourself up for some HP. But now Lily in from Elevate. So what's the strategy for Luminosity to deal with the Lily? Well, I have a high suspicion that is what Patchy is here for, aside from, being good at breaking the walls that Elevate are going to try and camp in for as long as they can. We'll see Chino over here on the Gene. Such a characteristic brawler of the guy, but he's being pushed back early game versus Zeus. Luffy's trying to sneak in. He must be running that gadget. Yep, pushed him away, but still Luffy gets the kill and is back in the realm.
Yeah, Lamp Blowout basically a must take on this map, especially if you fear any hard engage. Still, that was 2 uses of Luffy's gadget expended. But I think that it's a result that Elevate are going to feel like was worth it. Patchy eventually gets brought down by that thrower presence of Zeus here. And this composition from Elevate seems extremely oppressive. Charles knows there's no point using a super here. Much less looking to charge it up for Luffy. I think, Luffy was hoping to give RBM the super before they finish the job. And now all 3 Elevate brawlers are armed to the teeth.
I think that Charles was not really too pleased about feeding that super to Lily, which she gets just for being in his vicinity. Okay, different approach here for Patchy. Anticipating, predicting the position of opponents, using the Clay Pigeon to try and get his super, but he's still left without a super. Just breaking those walls on the enemy side would be so good for Luminosity. They still have to be concerned about what this Lily gadget will do, should she sneak up again, but I don't think that's really going to happen this time. Okay, there's a bush break from Charles. We'll see RBM have to scatter over to the left side.
Yeah, puts RBM in a bit more of a riskier position. Chino obviously wants to scout those bushes as much as they can, but that hedge in the way, that wasn't really an option. The hedge is going to be transplanted here, so Charles is obnoxiously going to be able to deploy it again. And you're right about the Lily, right? With only 1 charge of that gadget, Luffy can't get in and out safely anymore. Has to try and go for the old-fashioned way. What is that? A harebrained attempt there from Luffy. It doesn't pay off, but they're still going to be able to get out alive. The magic hand, though, connects onto RBM, and there's no chance for a super use there. Good damage from Zeus, though. Very good thrower damage coming in. Luffy here must have had a gadget gear. That is another use of the gadget to get him out alive. And this Elevate team seems unstoppable. They are one round away from taking it all.
Saved by the gadget gear, man. There's a reason that you bring it to the party when you're playing as Lily. That gadget is basically the strongest part of her kit, aside, of course, from the fact that she pumps out ridiculous damage in close range, but you just disappear. No, you go literally out of existence for a brief period where you cannot even be scouted while invisible. It all comes down to the team comps. Different approach now from Lumosity, beginning a match point for Elevate. As Patchy throws some clay pigeons to the enemy side, but still cannot get a super.
Very good damage there from Zeus, though. Extremely good. I think one shot away from that super. Now, we get another connection on Chino. Luffy will lie in wait. Feels like the deck is stacked. Elevate's favor. Nothing but aces at the top. RBM's not in a hurry here. Luffy's slowly going to start to creep around. Spotted out eventually. Takes a ton of poke damage from Jean at that range. Jean does, 2,200 per hit, so nothing to sneer at. Going to force Luffy all the way back. Chino doing a great job here, just releasing some of his Elevate map control.
Elevator waiting for that poison to close in. Well, here comes the hedge from Charles, blocking off their exit from mid. Patchy is on the hunt. He's looking for something. There's the clay pigeons. Nope. Luffy into the realm, spawning on Chino, grabbing the kill as well, and a Charles. And Elevate are just one round off.
RBM did so good there, just attracting all the attention. A global taunt on Luminosity as they all look to try and bring down the RT while Luffy started cracking heads together. And Zeus is probably having the best Larry and Laurie showing that we've seen definitely in NA this month. Getting a lot of damage here, despite the fact that there is a thrower that outranges the Larry and Laurie. Zeus has been able to overcome that for the most part. Actually lit there briefly. Luffy wants to dive in, but there it is, clay pigeons, and Luffy pulls the plug. Says, no, I'm getting out of here. Spawner here for Zeus will get picked off as the hedge makes it impossible for them to get back to safety. And now they might be looking to pressure the middle part of the map here, force Luffy and RBM away.
Chino and Patchy need to stay close together so that Chino can provide the clay pigeons, and also so that Chino can be safe from any,
oh my god, Zeus.
any Lily that powers in here. Zeus is getting crazy damage. A missed pull there from Chino. That's devastating. They're going to be forced to move into mid now thanks to this poison. Hypercharge popped by Charles, but still no kills. A replacement of the super at mid. Nuke from Patchy with a takedown onto Luffy, but they still can't push into mid. RBM's going to be ready here with the super to take them down. They still can't move in thanks to that sprout. RBM shoved out of mid. Patchy's going to get taken down. Chino and Charles still alive.
Zeus, no way!
Final takedown. Elevate take the monthly final.